Good morning, friends. Welcome back. I made a big purchase and I wanted to share with you why I made it and what I plan on doing with it and all the things. And it is very early on Sunday morning. It is now Sunday. We are in daylight savings time. So it's already light outside and it is time to get this thing unpacked. I've had it for a week, but I wanted to wait and make this video. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Carrie and this is Homestead by the Highway. And I just bought a Presto Canner and I have been debating, I'm gonna unpack while I talk. I have been debating about buying this canner for over a year. And I tried to figure out, it's expensive in my mind. To me, it's a lot of money. And I have been on the Facebook page for Presto. They have their own, a Facebook page specific to this. And I think it's actually ran by Presto. I think they oversee it because the customer service will jump in and answer questions on there. And so I think it's actually their page. It's not Mary Jane's page. It's not my page. It's not Betty Lou's page. It's actually, I think, Presto's page. So they have an official canner site. I have been watching, like I said, for over a year and reading on there, which probably was part of the delay in me purchasing this canner. I did get this canner. They've been out of stock for a handful of months anyways, or I may have bought it sooner, maybe not. But I got this at ours. It's called a Blains, B-L-A-I-N-S, here, Southwest Michigan. It's kind of like a Tractor Supply or a Farm and Fleet, if you have those things in your area. And they had it on sale, and I think it was like $20 off. And then I got their in-house credit card and got another $50 off. So that made me feel a little bit better about the purchase. It still is an investment. Basically, this is a pressure canner. I think you can water bath can in it too, I'm pretty sure. But it is a pressure canner. So my big one that I use on the stove, I still have, I will still use. But sometimes I like to do a small batch of, it's gonna be annoying for a minute. Get through the plastic. Sometimes I like to do a smaller batch, and this is going to give me the ability to can after work if I want to run a small batch. My other one, I had to put on the stove. You have to babysit. You have to watch the gauges or listen for the little jiggler to be going, and it's great, and I will still use it, and I love it. This is going to open up some opportunity for me to can more often, and I could do it on a weeknight because you put it in, you press the button, and it does all the things. It watches the gauges, it starts the timer when it gets up to pressure, and all the things. So I think, I don't know if I lift off the lid or not. I'm going to put this on the floor and lift it out. Alright, so one of the reasons I delayed this purchase was because I was on that website, or on that Facebook page. And a lot of people we're having problems. And I keep reading about all these error codes, all these error codes, all these error codes. And I did not, I'm like, I don't want to mess with a canner that they don't have perfected. When it first came out, everybody who bought canners like right in the beginning has had great success. They're like, oh, mine's never done that, mine's never done this, mine's never done that. More so, I'm reading about all of these error codes on Facebook because these are people like me who can on the weekends. And they are going to this site to go, what do I do when this happens? So they're in the middle of a canning session and they've got an error code and they don't know what to do. The biggest, in my eyes, the biggest downfall for this canner right from the get-go is customer service is only open Monday through Friday, basic business hours. Unless you're a full-time homesteader, and most people aren't, They are not canning Monday through Friday between 8 and 6 or even 7. They're just not. We are canning on the weekends like hardcore. That was what kept me from getting one for a really long time, is I can on the weekends. And if I've got $100 worth of chicken in this pot and it errors out and I don't know how to fix it or what to do, I'm going to be hot to trot if I can't get a hold of somebody to help me work through that. I do always have my other canner. Worst case scenario, I pull out my other canner, I fill it with water, and I start over. So I do have that option. But who wants to do that? That defeats the purpose. So we are going to open this up. I am going to pause you while I read the owner's manual. I'm like, I didn't get an owner's manual. The owner's manual, because there are a couple little things that I have learned on the website, and I'll show you when I get back. Pieces and parts that need to come out. There's a little rubber gasket that covers a thing, and everybody has melted it in there, and it's messed up their machine. And I think they stopped putting that in on that little spot for shipping purposes. I think they stopped putting it on there based on what I've read on the website. So here it is. Hope it's facing you. It is safe to be on your countertop. It's not going to heat up. I'm excited. I don't even know how to open it, to be honest with you. I'm going to have to read on how to open it. My guess was that it twisted like my Instapot. Anyway, so we'll learn how to open the lid, which is probably good that you can't just open the lid for safety reasons. Turn the knob towards you until it stops. Lift, and then rotate the cover. There we have it. So it is a lot like an Instapot in that manner. You do twist the lid. There is a line on the inside. I don't know if you'll be able to see it from there, but there's also an indentation on the outside for the water line. That makes me very happy, because the one thing that my 23 quart canner is a Presto canner as well. That canner, there's a little like line in it, and you cannot even see it anymore because it's like the slightest engraving. So I measure my water to pour in every time. And it does look like on the inside, from what I was reading on the Facebook page, I'm trying to bring this in, hopefully you can see it. They were covering this with a piece of just like peel off stuff. When you get new things and they've got that clear coating, you peel that off, and people weren't getting that peeled off, and it was melting on the inside. So it does look like they stopped putting that on there. So we're going to move it back to the counter, and I am going to sit and eat my breakfast really quick and read this little startup guide, and I will show you what we are going to pressure can first thing this morning. All right, so I'm popping back in here really quick to say this is why people don't can on the weekends and use this product. Pressure canner. Here's the book. I'm reading through page 12, page 13. Page 14 is blank. Page 15. Page 14 is the directions on how to set the dial on the pressure canner. I thumbed through it. Nowhere in here is page 14. We're gonna go ahead, and while I was off camera as well, I took this pot out, I washed it, I washed the lid. This inner piece comes in and out. I took the ring off, I just popped this out. It's just on a rubber gasket thing. Pop that out, wash that, wash the inside, and got that all done. We are going to go ahead and run our first load. I did not find that page quickly enough in trying to Google search the manual for this machine as well, but they do have a quick start guide. So I'm going to go ahead and just go from there and hope that whatever's on page 14 is not missing from these directions. Do you want to know what we're going to can first? Water. Couple of reasons. One is I am not going to risk canning chicken or something else with the prices the way they are and risk having it not work out. I do not have time to run my other canner today, so we're canning water. Is that a waste? No. Couple of things is we have been without power on and off. My husband and I, not so much, but we have had family and friends that have been without water. And if my jars are gonna sit on my shelf empty, they might as well have a little water in them in case the power goes out. Not a big deal. When I need them, I'll just pop the lids off and I will have my empty jars. They might as well have something in them rather than just being empty on the shelf. And it's only 8 pints. I'm just gonna leave the water in them. If I need the jars, not a big deal to just pour the water out. So we're gonna can water just for the sake of learning to use the machine. And so everything is washed. Just like in your regular canner, there is a plate that goes in the bottom of this. This one has little rubber feet. My other one is all metal that goes in my other canner. This is rubber feet, and I'm sure it's because this has got that coating on it so it doesn't scratch it and whatnot. So that's gonna go in the bottom, and actually I'm gonna fill it directly from the sink. I am going to use warm water because I'm going to put warm water in the jars. So whatever temperature you put in your bowl, you want to have in your jars, I'm going to fill it up to that line. And just like in my big 23 quart canner, this takes 3 quarts, that takes 3 quarts. So it's the same 3 quarts. And you use 3 quarts no matter how many jars you're doing. So if you're just doing a small batch of 4 jars, it still gets 3 quarts of water in there. And I'm gonna fill the jars, add the lids, we're gonna get those in there, and then we'll walk through setting up the fronts. So I have regular mouth pint jars in here. When you do pint jars, you can do 8 at a time. If you do wide mouth pint jars, you can only do 7. And I will bring you in, and it is fitted in there ever so perfectly. One of the things that I did read on the Facebook page, and it may be accurate or inaccurate, is the jar right below where this stuff sits. So it's going to be this here, usually fails. So it says make sure there's not a jar directly below it to off center them and make them. So I'm going to slide all of these. Whether that's true or not, but it's easy enough to turn them so I have the space between 2 jars right in that spot. Everybody is in. When you do that 3 quarts of water, and this is such a tiny pot, it looks really full. And you can water bath in this as well, so you can cover the jars and do a boiling water bath. But the water brought it right up to the bottom of the ring. So here is how it's set up inside. And you can see that this is going to be like kind of between these two, as well as the water is right here. I mean, it is right at the top. That's a lot of water in there. I realize it's going to boil and do its thing, but yeah, so let's get this going. All right, so I'm literally going to read. If you do half pints, which are the half ones of these, you can do 10 regular mouth, 14 of the wide mouth, and the quarts, you can do quarts, 5 regular mouth, 4 wide mouth in this as well. So, all right. They said they intentionally made this cord short so that it wasn't draping over a counter or people couldn't trip on it. Just fine. Ooh, and it just beeped. It also says that it's safe if you have to use an extension cord. that you can do that, because if your cupboards, my other cupboards were this low and I would not have been able to do this on my countertop, so I would have had to set it on something. Just don't have it where somebody could trip over it, obviously. The number of warnings for this machine could have been like 10 pages long. I did read through them, but wow. Just for common sense things. Not something we should be afraid of, just common sense. It also says full, this could weigh 42 pounds, so be sure that your, whatever you set it on can hold 42 pounds. So now the pressure can is flashing like it said it would. Press the control knob to select the pressure canning mode. Pressure can. So we have pressure can, boiling water can. So boiling water can is water bath canning. And I'm not going to water bath today. I'm actually going to pressure can. So that's where I want. Those are just the two options with this big old knob, just for those two options. So once we do that, it's the 10 lights up. So this is going to be the processing time. This is just water, so I could probably go 10 minutes, but I really want to make sure I'm going to do like a 50-minute processing time, because I want it to kind of run a cycle. If you do like chicken and stuff like that, I think it's 90 minutes. So I want it to get longer into a cycle. I don't want to run it 10 minutes and go, yay, it works. And it also says to remove the regulator, which is this large knob, and this just has, I don't know if that'll focus, just two little arms there. So this has a jar warming cycle to bring your jars, say you were hot packing something and you wanted your jars to be warm, because you don't want to put hot food into a warm jar because it'll crack. We've talked about that. So this has a jar warming cycle. So you can put your jars in here so they can start warming while you're preparing your food to place into the jars. So this is where my confusion comes in. I didn't realize there was jar warming cycle in this. So my jars are already warm. So my jars, I put the same water and the same temperature in there. So we're just gonna go with that. I'm sorry I'm reading so much, and I will fast forward through some of that or just cut it out, but this totally makes no sense. And I'm sure it'll just become second nature at some point. So install, remove, and then we're gonna twist it to lock it. Lower the sensor arm. I really should just like read these like out loud. Is not on the cover. The regulator is not on the cover. I am holding it. Press the arrow button. When it's not doing what you think it's doing, if you press and hold the X for 3 seconds, you get to start over. Back up to 50. So I do know in watching videos that it goes through this process. It will beep. I will have to come back and hit the button and put the regulator on. So we are just waiting for that process to happen. All right, so I'm back and I'm gonna show you, this beeped twice. It goes beep, beep. It is fairly loud, but I wouldn't be too far away, because if I'd have been like in the basement flipping laundry or something, I would have missed it. But it took only about 5 minutes, so it was pretty fast. Now on the front of this, it says fill the jars. I already did that because it went through that jar warming phase. So I already did that. So now I'm just gonna press this arrow button again, and now it's switched over to heat. So now it's in heat mode. Once the proper temperature is reached, vent, and the 10-minute timer will light up. This is where the cycle, where on our canner, that it's actually going to vent and get the extra air out of the chamber so that it doesn't explode. So this is what we're doing now, is we're doing that 10 minutes. So it'll start going. Once it starts venting, it starts its own 10-minute timer. And then it'll beep again. I'm gonna press this button and put the regulator back on, is where I think this is going. So thanks for coming along and learning with me. This has been fun. It's doing its thing. It's now coming up to temperature. Hopefully this will start venting. the 10-minute timer automatically going to start, and then we will go from there. I'm wondering how in the future I'll have to get the extra page out of the manual or do some more research to see, do I have to do that cycle that it just did? Because my jars were already hot, my water was already hot. So do I have to go through that 5-minute cycle, or is that something that is not necessary, I guess? But maybe you just have to, and that's fine too. It was only 5 minutes, not a big deal. All right, so this time it actually continually beeps, and on the screen this is put the regulator on. So there are different markings on this. One is vent, one is can. This one is vent. So I'm going to carefully pop this on there and leave it facing forward for can. Press the advance arrow. And now I've started my 50-minute canning session for my water. I'm curious about this guy. Does it constantly vent? On my stovetop one, a little valve pops up, and that's what creates the pressure. So I'm going to go and do some reading while this is working for 50 minutes, and we'll be back. Okay, so I hung out here because I just wanted to see it was in less than a minute. This did pop up, and this did stop blowing steam. Even though it looks like there's a hole all the way down, it is the craziest thing. So this did pop up, it blocked that steam off, so now, and this made the faintest beep beep compared to all the other beeps. The faintest beep beep to say the timer actually started. So the timer is now counting down for 50 minutes. So this does have to pop up just like your canner would on your stove. So that was good to know, because I was like, if it's constantly venting, what's going on? But it does pop up. And I work at a place where we have a credit card machine, and everything beeps different. If somebody taps, it makes a different tone than if somebody chips it or somebody swipes it, and all the things. So this kind of has the same thing. The beeps were kind of different volumes, and I don't want to say quite a different tone, but definitely a different volume. But that one there, you don't have to do anything, so it just tells you that it started. So if you didn't hear that beep, it's not a big deal. You don't have to be standing here. Now, unlike my other canner, I would have to listen for the jiggler. I'd have to be watching the pressure gauge. With this canner, you don't have to worry about elevation. I am at an elevation where I need 11 pounds of pressure. And getting that dialed in on my stove would sometimes just make me crazy. And I found that I needed to use a different burner. One, that helped immensely. So if you're struggling to find that sweet spot in your canning, try a different burner. And the other burner made a big difference. So this does not, though, you don't have to worry about elevation with this when you are pressure canning. You set the timer for whatever the guidelines say to use for time for the product that you're canning. That's exciting, because now I can not have to stand or be near the kitchen. I can actually go and work on some other things that I need to work on and not babysit this and keep looking up to see if the little jiggler is moving at the speed that it should be, which I can see from my living room to my kitchen stove. But I can be running downstairs and swapping out laundry. So this is exciting to me, to have that convenience of a little bit more freedom to be doing other things while this is going. And it is kind of big, but it really doesn't. I mean, I have small counters. Like this is my counter space for my kitchen right here. You are looking at it. I could still push this back out of the way and still be doing a few things here on the counter if I'm canning during the day. So that makes me happy too. So a little frustrated in the beginning, but that's just a new user error. I am sure I'm going to love this machine. I'm so excited. So we'll keep going. We'll see you in a few. Okay, so I walked in just in time to hopefully click the camera on. It beeps 4 times when it's complete. The snowflake comes on. It's going into a cool down session. So that means the canner is going to start cooling down and releasing the pressure. I did look it up, and it said it can take up to an hour and a half for the pressure to come down, depending upon what you have in there. I have those 8 pints, so we'll see how long that takes to come down. As I was thinking I could do this when I got out of work, I was thinking I could run a load, and I forget about how long it takes for that pressure to come down. So this may or may not work on an evening. If I got out of work on time, it came right home, and I had everything ready to go. If I had to do any chopping or anything like that of any fruits or veggies, then that would not be an option. I would have to have it ready to go. We'll see how long just the water takes to come down from pressure, and I'll bring you back when that happens. It went through a cycle where a 10-minute timer came on, meaning that it was in its final cool down stage. So it went through that 10-minute timer. It just beeped 4 times, which I just had clicked you on because I knew it was down to a minute or less. The done light is on. The time expires and it beeps 10 times, which it just did. Press and hold the X for 3 seconds. Confirm that the air vent lock has dropped. It has not. Mine is still up. So mine has not dropped yet. So I am going to go and find out during the cool down phase why that little booger didn't drop. And we'll be back. Just here, keeping it real. That fell, it only took like another minute and a half or so. And that being up keeps you from opening this door accidentally. So there's no troubleshooting, there was nothing wrong, it just hadn't fully released yet. Not a big deal. So that, like I said, keeps this up so you can't turn this. So now that that has fully dropped, it means the pressure is fully released, so I can turn the knob and lift the lid. Lift this keeps it from turning. Twist the lid. This pressure canner, it's warm. It's not overly hot, like to touch it. I'm not burning myself by any means, but it says to use the handles as always. I'm just gonna slide it over a little bit. Pulling jars, I have a jar remover. I am going to just pull these out, and I'm just setting them on this cutting board. They need to sit for a minimum of 12 hours, just like any food that you would can. I'm gonna let them sit for 12 hours and then see. I just wanna keep track of the 2 that were under this vent. And like I said, by no means, I don't think, oh, one just pinged. Don't think you need to can water for 50 minutes. I wanted to see if I got an error code. I did not, which is a good thing. And I learned a lot about the canner. Don't know if you heard that, it just went again. All right, so I'm gonna get this one out. These last 2 are the 2 that I want to keep track of. So that is it. That is the Presto electric canner. Like I said, I have not obviously used this canner before. I've only been reading reports on it. I had no issues with it. I was a little confused in the beginning, worried that I didn't have the right page of the instructions, but this one did it. If you go right to the Presto site, I did find a video on their website if you are pressure canning versus water bath canning, and I think it was like a 6-minute video, so it's not the whole process. I think they did carrots. It went right through. I felt like a part of it was a little quick when you're picking this stuff, but not complicated at all. So very, very happy. It did take about an hour and 10 minutes for that to come down to that cooling phase. So they were correct in that, and that was me doing water. So I don't know if food takes longer or maybe takes less. They said it could be almost an hour and 10 minutes. I'm gonna let this cool down. I'm gonna get it all washed up, and hopefully, my goal in getting this canner was to be able to can stuff during the week. I do have a small garden, and I did have to compost some stuff because I couldn't get to it, and it was not, I picked it and it wasn't gonna make it until the weekend, or it wasn't gonna make it until I had several pickings worth to do a batch of it. This will allow me to quickly do a batch. I can just have this all set up the night before and get it to rock and roll as soon as I get home from work. So I'm very, very, very excited about this, having this, just so I can do that. And then I can do other things. I can still go eat dinner and that kind of stuff when I get home from work. So, but it is all set. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug it and get it wrapped up. Thank you so much for spending time with me and walking through my, what am I doing with this new canner? And I'm totally excited to bring you other videos. I can't wait to start gardening with you. I just want the snow to go away. It's snowing again today. It is March, I don't even know what date it is, March 12th. And it's snowing again here in Southwest Michigan. So in the meantime, we'll keep doing some stuff in the kitchen, and we'll be doing, I didn't sow any seeds yet, not a single one. And I had my seeds in 4 weeks ago last year. So I'm gonna have to think about that. I still might get some in yet today. Maybe I'll make a video about that, and we'll get just a tray of them done for fun. Thank you so much, friends, for spending time with me and walking along as I did this. I know I say that over and over again, but I truly do appreciate it and appreciate your time and questions. Give it a thumbs up down below and just say, hey, I made it through the video and thanks for sticking it out and putting it up. Totally happy with my purchase, and we will see you soon. Thank you. Have a great day.